Ever feel like your happiness is just kind of out of your control? Like you're not really in the driver's seat of your own life? Well, today we're going to dig into the work of two incredible thinkers, two mind architects, if you will, who created these amazing blueprints for taking back the wheel. Let's jump right in. So let's just ask it straight up. Are you really in the driver's seat of your own happiness? I mean, really? Or does it sometimes feel more like you're just along for the ride, reacting to whatever life throws at you? It's a huge question, right? And the two people we're about to talk about, well, they came at it from completely different angles, but both of them gave us some really powerful answers. Okay, so here's our roadmap. First, we'll ask who's really running the show when it comes to your happiness. Then we'll meet our two architects, Glasser, who's all about choosing success, and Ellis, who says it's all about thinking differently. After that, we'll put their ideas head to head and wrap it all up with a mental toolkit you can start using right away. All right, first up, let's talk about William Glasser and what he called reality therapy. Glasser's whole philosophy is super direct. It's all about action. He basically said, hey, the secret to happiness isn't buried in your past. It's in the choices you're making this very second. And this all comes down to his big idea, choice theory. Now, this is a game changer. He believed that you are never a victim of your circumstances. Everything you do, every single behavior, is your best shot at getting something you want or need. But here's the kicker, the part you absolutely have to remember. The only person's behavior you can ever control is your own. So, if you can only control your own actions, where do you put your energy? Glasser's answer couldn't be simpler. Right here, right now. His whole therapy is designed to keep you from getting bogged down in what's already happened. You know, Glasser wasn't saying the past doesn't matter. Of course it shaped you, but he was adamant that it doesn't have to define you. He thought that just endlessly talking about past mistakes is like pouring cement on those negative patterns. So instead of asking his clients, so what went wrong back then? He'd flip the script and ask, tell me about a time when things went right. See that? He wanted to use past successes as the fuel to build a better today. And all of this leads to one of his biggest ideas, identity. Glasser said we pretty much develop one of two core identities. On one hand, you've got the success identity. This is when you feel worthy, significant, and you take full ownership of your own happiness. But on the other hand, there's the failure identity. That's where you feel irresponsible, frustrated, and your view of reality is, well, it's kind of warped. The whole point of his therapy, it was to help people make that incredible shift from a failure identity to a powerful, real success identity. Okay, so that's Glasser, who is all about action. Now let's switch gears completely and meet our second mind architect, Albert Ellis. He took a totally different route. If Glasser was focused on what you do, Ellis was obsessed with what you think. He developed this incredibly powerful system called rational emotive behavior therapy, or REBT for short. And, his ideas weren't totally new. He drew a lot of inspiration from the ancient Stoic philosophers, especially this one quote from Epictetus. It basically says, it's not the things that happen to you that mess you up, it's the story you tell yourself about those things. Your point of view, your belief about what happened, that, my friends, is everything. Okay, so to break this down, Ellis came up with his super famous ABC model. It's really simple. Let's start with A. A is the activating event. This is just the thing that happens, the external objective fact. For example, you lose your job. That's it. It happened. All right, now pay attention because here comes the most important part. B. B stands for your belief system. This is not what happened. This is the little voice in your head, the story you start spinning about what happened. It's that internal monologue. And this is where the trouble starts, right? This is where an irrational thought like, oh my God, this is the most terrible thing in the world, can just take over. And that leads us to C, the emotional consequence. So in our example, that feeling is despair. But here's the revolutionary part of Ellis's idea. He argued that A does not cause C. Losing your job didn't make you feel despair. No way. It was B, your belief, that led directly to C. It was your thinking about losing your job that created the despair. That's a huge shift in perspective. So you're probably asking, okay, how do I stop this? Well, Ellis didn't just leave us hanging. He added two more letters to the model. First comes D for disputing. This is where you get to be a detective for your own mind. You actively challenge that irrational belief from step B. You have to ask yourself tough questions like, wait a second, is this really the most terrible thing that could ever happen? Is there any evidence for that? What's a more realistic, rational way of looking at this?
And when you successfully argue against that irrational thought, you get to E, an effective new consequence, a totally new, healthier, more balanced feeling. So what do these crazy beliefs actually sound like? Well, Ellis had a pretty funny and memorable name for them. He called them musturbations. Get it? It's when you build your whole life on a pile of demanding I musts, I shoulds, and I have tos. These are absolute, rigid demands you place on yourself and the world. Things like, I must be loved by every single important person in my life, or it is absolutely awful and I can't stand it when things don't go exactly the way I want them to. You can see how that sets you up for a world of pain, right?
Okay, so we've got two completely different ways of looking at this. Glasser is all about what you do. Ellis is all about what you think. So let's put these two blueprints for the mind right next to each other and see how they stack up. This chart really lays it all out, doesn't it? If you ask Glasser, what's the root of the problem, he'd say it's your unsatisfied needs and the bad choices you're making to try and fix them. But if you ask Ellis the same question, his answer is way simpler. It's your irrational thoughts, full stop. And that one difference changes everything. You can see Glasser's therapy focuses on your present behavior and your plans for the future. Meanwhile, Ellis is laser-focused on the chatter inside your head right now. Even the language they use is different. Glasser talks about the pictures in your mind of what you want, while Ellis talks about your internal verbalizations, which is basically the script that's constantly running in your head. So, we've looked at two really powerful theories from two brilliant minds. But theory is one thing, right? The real question is, what does this actually mean for you? How can you turn these ideas into real, practical tools for a better life? You know, for all their differences, what's amazing is that both of these guys land on the exact same incredibly empowering message. It doesn't matter if you start by changing your actions, the Glasser way, or by changing your thoughts, the Ellis way. The takeaway is exactly the same. You are not just a passenger. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You have the power right now to fundamentally change how you feel and how you experience your own life.
And that really brings us to the final and most important question of all. Which tool are you going to pick up and use? Are you going to go the Glasser route and focus on making just one better choice today? Or are you going to grab a tool from Ellis's kit and challenge just one of those irrational thoughts? So I'll leave you with this challenge. What's one irrational should or must that you've been telling yourself that you can start to question right now?